Okay, so we are starting our notes for unit 2.1.3. It's called What Does Minus Mean? So you need to make sure that you have your math notes in front of you. We're going to start on the right side. Remember, the right side is teacher-led. Everything is correct that I give you. So start by writing down your essential question for the day. What are the different ways you can represent a minus? And you might remember back when we were doing integers, I talked about using the word opposite of. That's going to become really important today. So when we say minus today and right now, we mean opposite of. So go ahead and get that written down. And then you can also copy the image below minus opposite of. I'll pause it quick so you guys have time to do that. Okay, so we've already explored our tiles, but now we're going to be introduced to two new ideas. We're going to be introduced to the idea that the tiles have a positive side and a negative side, as well as this idea of expression mats. So a positive tile is going to be your blue tile. For X in units, it's blue. I believe for Y tiles, it's purple. XY, it's green. So positive, or if you ever see a tile filled in, meaning it's gray, but it's filled in, that's a positive tile. Yeah, that's a positive tile. Negative tiles are all red. Doesn't matter if it's X, Y, they'll always be red. Or if it's gray, it's unfilled. So that's how you'll distinguish when a tile is positive versus negative. When I'm drawing in my notes, the positives will always be blue, the negatives will always be red. In your CPM, the colors are blue, purple, green, and always red. Sometimes CPM will give it to you without colors, just gray. If it's a filled in tile, it's a positive tile. If it's an empty tile, it's a negative tile. Okay, we also have this idea of an expression mat. So an expression mat, this guy here. The expression mat has a positive region and what is called a negative region, but we're going to think of it as the opposite of region. So you'll see it say negative region. The reason we do that is because any tile that is put in that bottom space becomes the opposite of what it says it is. And we'll explain what that means. So the next thing I want you to do is there are two different ways that a tile can be positive, and there are two different ways that a tile can be negative. So go ahead and copy these tiles and these definitions, and we're going to show how to do +3 and -3, the two different ways. So I'll pause it here and let you get caught up. Okay, so if I want to do +3 tiles, the easiest way is to put 3, and go ahead and do this with me, 3 positive tiles in the positive region. Super easy. The other way to show a +3 is if we see parentheses like this. You'll notice over on the right, I wrote this means negative zone. So if you see parentheses like this, it means negative zone. It means put those tiles in the negative zone. So this should actually be -3. And this one's going to be +3. And I'll show you why. So if I'm putting it in the opposite zone, it says to put 3 red tiles. If that's the opposite zone and I'm putting negative tiles in it, everything inside it becomes a negative. So those are no longer 3 negative tiles. That's actually 3 positives, because anything that is put down here becomes the opposite of what it says it is. If it says it's negative, the picture says it's negative, but it's down here, it's actually positive. So then if I want to show -3, I can do the very simple way of putting 3 negative tiles up in the positive zone. Everything that's in the positive zone is what it is. Or I can put 3 positive tiles in the opposite of zone, because again, remember, anything down here is the opposite of what it says it is. So it says it's 3 positive tiles. The opposite of that is -3. So we showed +3 in these two, and we showed -3 in those two. So those are the different ways to show positive and negatives. You can do it with all the different tiles, but that's how we do it. So again, make sure you're all caught up on these notes here. And we'll move on to some practice problems. Make sure you copy down the directions. We're still on the right side. The directions, as well as basically copy down everything on the screen. The directions and the expression mats. I'll pause and let you do that. Okay, the instructions say use the expression mats to create it in 2 different ways. So the first one here, so A, I need to show 3 negative x tiles. I'm going to choose first the easy way. I'm going to put 3 negative x tiles up there. That shows 3 negative x tiles, or I could put 3 positive x tiles in the opposite of zone. I could also do a combination of that. I could have 1 red x tile and 2 blue x tiles, or 2 blue and 1 red. You can also do combinations. So this next one wants 2 positive x tiles and 2 negative tiles. So I could do it like this. I could put, let's do one where I put everything in the opposite of zone. So I want, there's my -2, and then I need 2 positive x's. So I'm going to put these negatives in the opposite of. So that's a different way. Put everything down there and I have a mixture. Or I could split them and do it kind of the straightforward way, where I'll put 2 x tiles up here, 2 x tiles here, and maybe I put some red up here. So now everything is up in the positive. There are tons of different ways that you could do this. So you could come up with probably 6 more, at least, different ways to do that. Here are just some examples. Next, now I have given you the expression mats, and we are going to write the names of these. So go ahead and get these copied down. I'll pause to let you catch up. This is the last stuff we're going to put on the right side. Okay, now we need to name them. When we name things, so if we are going to name something, the order will be x's, then y's, then units. I don't think I have any y's, so I don't have to worry about that, but if I did. So looking at this first one, I have 2 positive x tiles in the positive zone. So I can start with 2x. And then I have 3 negative tiles in the positive zone. So I'm going to subtract 3. Okay, I also have 2 positive unit tiles in the opposite of zone. So I need to subtract 2. And it's written, again, remember it's written like that. That says the opposite zone has 2 positive tiles. I want you to get in the habit of writing it like that. So that says the positive zone has 2 positive tiles and 3 negative tiles, and the opposite zone has 2 positive tiles. Okay, if we look at this next one, starting in my positive region, I have 2 negative x tiles. So I'm going to start with negative 2x. I have a 2 positive unit tiles, plus 2, and a negative unit tile, minus 1. Okay, now I'm going to go down to the opposite of zone. So this is stuff that goes in parentheses with the negative in front of it. I have a negative x tile, so negative x, and I have 2 positive tiles, so plus 2. So I want to write this like that. So again, maybe I'll highlight in red the stuff that was in the negative region, just so I know why it was written that way. So negative zone is written like that. That's the negative zone. Okay, what questions do you have for me? We can pause and take questions. All right, moving on to your left side of your notes. So basically, we're going to just redo practice problems that we did on the right side. So you need to copy the expression mats to create the following expressions in 2 different ways. So now you're doing this on your own. You need to come up with 2 different ways to do 3x plus 4 and 2 different ways to do negative 2y plus 3. I'll pause and let you do this, and then I'm going to ask you what you drew and draw those into my notes. So be ready to answer questions. Okay, we just went over those. So here are the last 2 for the left side. Write the algebraic expression for each representation. So get these copied in, the pictures, and then underneath them, write the names. Make sure you include the positive zone and the negative zone, and then we'll check our answers. All right, so if you wrote this first one the way we want it, I have a positive x tile in the positive zone. I have a positive y tile in the positive zone. I have 2 positive unit tiles and 3 negative unit tiles. So there was my positive region. Then in the negative region, I have 3 positive unit tiles and 1 negative unit tiles. Now these can be simplified, but we're actually going to work on that on Thursday. But that's ideally what you should have written. If you simplified, that's awesome. So this next one here, starting in my positive zone, I have a positive x tile and a negative x tile and a positive unit tile. So there's my positive region. The negative region has 3 negative x tiles, 3 positive unit tiles, and 2 negative unit tiles. And again, that was representing the negative zone. So you should have something written like that. Again, if you simplified, awesome, you're ahead of the game. So before we move on to the exit ticket, what questions do you have for me?